Hello, everybody, and welcome back to another episode of Pointless Top 10, a show where we make top 10 lists of pointless things, where we fly by his pointless statue in Booty Bay, because inside pointless things are treasure. Let's begin. 10. Number 10 is the Raptor House in Northern Val'sharah, and I picked this one because it is one of the weirdest buildings that I haven't really seen anywhere else in World of Warcraft. Like, even in this area, I couldn't find another building that looked like this. And I guess you could say it's not really like a building per se, because it's a bunch of trees kind of joined together, but it looks like they made a house out of it. I don't know how these raptors did it. Maybe they've got some good architect raptors over here, but it's clearly got the big log roof and then all the little side pieces. There's even some old boards or something, so maybe some humans or some elves used to live here, and then everything got, washed on shore, or like a storm happened and then the raptors took over, because there are a bunch of like bottles and things here too. So it's really unique, and I haven't even seen any other buildings in this area that look like this, let alone in the game or in other spots. So if you've seen anything like this, let me know in the comments section, because I haven't seen anything like it. But it is a pretty weird building, and that's why it's number 10. 9. Number 9 is the Troll Temple at Bombala, and Bombala is a horde encampment just outside of Zul'Gurub. And I actually picked this because there's not many other troll temples that look like this in the game. Like, there's a bunch of skulls all over and this big skull statue with these candles all around it. There's a lot of cool wall art of, various trolls and snakes, and it actually looks like there's a little Illidan guy. At least that's what I see. Do you see it, the little Illidan guy? There's snake statues all over. It's a really cool, unique type of building. Or I guess it's kind of a weird building, because that's the title of this video. But I was going to call this video like unique buildings or odd buildings, but I settled on weird because I was like, I don't know. But just because a building is weird in World of Warcraft doesn't mean it's cool. In fact, I think all of these buildings are really cool, even though they are just, they're a little weird. They're not normal compared to a lot of the other structures in World of Warcraft. That's really the main point of the video. One other thing I did learn about this, though, is Bombala actually uses all the objects from Yojamba, which is the isle that used to be attached with Zul'Gurub and everything. So these are essentially reused assets added in Cataclysm. So I guess this would actually be the Yojamba Isle Temple. But you know what? This is actually more pointless, so I think it's more fitting for this series. So that's why it's number 9. 8. Number 8 are the Umbrafen tents, and the Umbrafen tents are located in both Zanger Marsh and Nagrand, and maybe even a couple other places, but these are the main areas I found them in. There might be some in Terakar, but I love these buildings because they do look really weird. They almost look like big hats, you know what I mean? Like big pointy wizard hats or something, and they got the big curl up top. I think they look really cool, but they are very weird. Like, you look all over the game, I don't see anything even close to resembling these tents, but I actually like them a lot. And every time I kept flying by them, I was like, dude, I want to put these in a list, and I just couldn't figure it out. And then when I was making this weird buildings list, I was like, dude, these are some weird buildings. I gotta do it. Even the big main headquarters type of building, it's like the biggest of all the tents, and then there's a big staircase going up to the top, and usually they have the leader guy there for a bunch of quests and stuff. That one's really cool as well, even though it doesn't look as kind of weird and crazy as some of the other ones. But I really do love these, even if they are weird and kind of wacky looking, but I think they're really cool, and so I had to put them on the list, and that's why the Umbrafen buildings are number 8. 7. Number 7 are the Tuskarr buildings located in the Howling Fjord and Dragonblight, and I picked these specifically because there's a lot of places where Tuskarr have buildings that look kind of like this, but I always remember these were like the first ones I ever saw way back in Wrath of the Lich King, and I remember being like, dude, these buildings are so crazy, right? And they were just very unconventional and weird compared to a lot of the other buildings you'd see in World of Warcraft, but they made sense, right? Because the Tuskarr are fishermen. They're making buildings out of things that look like fish. Like, this one looks like a squid crab. You can even see the little crab eyes. They even put crabs inside, so I'm pretty sure it's based off a crab. But a lot of the buildings actually have these like tentacle like structures coming out of them. I just think it's really cool. And so yeah, the Tuskarr just got some great architecture. And I know I say it wrong, all right? I can't say it correctly. Architecture. I don't know how to say it right. Architecture. Am I saying it right now? It doesn't even sound right to me. I don't know. Either way, that's why the Tuskarr buildings are number 7. 6. Number 6 are the buildings located at the Colossal's Fall and Gromgar in Frostfire Ridge. And what makes these buildings so weird, if you couldn't tell, is they are made out of colossals, or earthen giants. And so the colossals, according to the WoW wiki, were an immense species of giant that once lived on Draenor before being driven extinct. They were enormously large, could possess either one or two eyes, and were the ones who first shaped Draenor. And several massive colossal skeletons can be found across the alternate Draenor, but it seems that these remains were destroyed along with the rest of Draenor in the main universe. But I really do love that they just turn these giant, dead, colossal giant skeletons into a home for themselves. You know what I mean? Like, it almost reminds me of the Tuskarr, where they made these fish-type buildings. Well, here in Draenor, they're like, you know what? Let's just make some colossal buildings. And I mean, really, they're just working with what they've got. But I do think this looks really cool. Anytime you turn a big skeleton into an actual home or a base, like, it just looks pretty sick. And so that's why I had to put the colossal skeleton buildings at number 6. 5. Number 5 are the Spires of Iraq buildings, located in the Spires of Iraq. And these are buildings that I always thought were really cool, with all the stained glass and the bird statues and the sun orbs and stuff like that, but they did always just feel very weird to me. Like, all these buildings that are up in the actual mountains and the spires, and again, compared to a lot of other World of Warcraft structures, it always felt like these were a little weird, you know? And even though I do think they're really cool, in fact, they're some of my favorite structures in Draenor, they do just feel weird. And I think what really amplifies that is they are just kind of up in the mountains, you know what I mean? In the mountains. They're just like up in these spires attached onto them, and it creates this very bizarre and kind of strange atmosphere for these buildings, because you don't normally see this type of thing anywhere else in the game, which makes it weird, which is why it's on this list. And so that's why the Spires of Iraq buildings are number 5. 4. Number 4 is the Garvin's Reef building. And at first you look at this and you're like, wait, this isn't a building, this is a cave. But you go inside of the cave and lo and behold, there's a building inside that cave. There's a lemon behind that rock. Simpsons reference. And it's a bit of an odd looking building as well, so it's almost like a weird building inside of a weird location, making it such a weird building. And this place actually belongs to Captain Jonah Sterling, which is a Long John Silver reference, and Annie Bond, who's another pirate, wants you to go and kill Captain Jonah Sterling. And so for the quest, you go in here, you kill him, and then he's like, I'm getting out of here, you have to fight my bear. But then the bear actually eats him, and that's the whole quest. But another weird part about the building is if you go inside and look down, you'll see a prison area where there's 2 dead gnome skeletons in there. So that's also very weird. And really, this entire area is unlike anything I've seen in World of Warcraft, especially the building inside of a cave outside of maybe like the Caverns of Time. And so that's why I felt I had to put Garvin's Reef on the list, and that's why it's number 4. 3. Number 3 are the Jinyu buildings located in the Jade Forest of the Mist of Pandaria. And these have always felt weird to me, dating back to when I first played Mist of Pandaria. And I don't know what it is about them. I think it's because it almost feels like, you know how they used to put RTS Warcraft 3 buildings and stuff into World of Warcraft, and you could tell like, oh yeah, that's from Warcraft 3. Like some of the ziggurats and the floating things. It almost feels that way with these buildings. It feels like they were in an RTS game and they just got ripped and put into World of Warcraft. Now, I don't think that's bad per se. It always gave me these weird vibes compared to when you'd see other structures. Like when I go to some of the other zones like Kunlai Summit and see the temples, or when I go to, you know, just wherever, I'd be like, oh yeah, that feels like it fits in Pandaria. And that just always felt like the Jinyu buildings were just weird or odd. I don't know. I could never really put my finger on it. And again, like I've said with many of these, I think these buildings are actually really cool. I love the little lotuses on the buildings and the stone structure and the artwork on the walls and stuff. Like, I think they're awesome looking building. It's just, they just feel weird. I also just said they're awesome looking building, like a singular build. They're awesome looking building, but they are weird, and so that is why I put them at number 3. 2. Number 2 are the buildings of Zareth Mortis, specifically the half pyramid structures that are in this weird futuristic desert environment, and they have these like diamond symbols and orbs and like a bunch of gold plating on the stone. It's kind of surreal and weird, especially for World of Warcraft. And Zareth Mortis is one of those places that I hated, much like a lot of Shadowlands at the time, but now being able to fly around and go back and kill stuff in one shot, it's actually a lot more enjoyable. And I don't know if that's saying a lot, being like, yeah, now that I don't have to do the actual mechanics of the zone, it's really cool. But that's what got me to put this on the list, because I was going back and doing all this stuff so I could access the mount construction or whatever it's called. I don't know. But I was realizing while I was doing all these quests, like, yo, these are some weird buildings. I should put this on my weird building list, because I was kind of constructing it at the time. And I was like, there's really nothing like these in World of Warcraft. And I think part of that is due to the fact that Shadowlands almost feels a little more sci-fi than fantasy from my perspective. And the only other time I really got that was probably Legion. maybe even a little Burning Crusade, but it still felt like Burning Crusade was very Warcraft. I felt like at times Legion almost felt like it was its own thing with like spaceships flying around and stuff. So maybe that's why I think this was Shadowlands. But either way, these are some weird buildings in World of Warcraft. So that's why they're number 2. And number 1 are the Mantid buildings located in the Dread Wastes in the Mist of Pandaria. And these are the buildings that inspired me to make this pointless top 10, because I would always fly by these buildings in Pandaria and be like, they just feel so weird and like not even out of place, but just odd to be in World of Warcraft. And it's these bug people that have created these weird towers of insectoid windows and structures, and like, I don't know, it always felt very weird to me. And so I was like, I gotta put it on the list. And the more I thought about it, the more I was like, you know what, this is number 1 for me. These are just the weirdest buildings in World of Warcraft. Even this one where you can see the side of the tree, and this building has like 12 windows on it, and then there's another building with like a bunch of windows. It feels like I'm looking at a hotel, but it's been created by these mantid creatures. And you know what, maybe I'm underselling the mantids. Maybe they are like amazing architects and I'm just like making fun of their construction abilities, but you know what, it's just weird to me. And so that's why it's number 1. Hey everybody, thanks for watching this episode of Pointless Top 10. If you want more Top 10s, you go watch Houses in the Middle of Nowhere. That kind of relates to this episode. Or you go watch Elevators. That also kind of relates, I guess. Also, consider supporting the channel over on patreon.com/wowcrendor or by becoming a channel member. Okay? Okay. See ya.